Okay, sir. Please go ahead and tell me the name of the police department and then describe what happened.
It's the Bureau of Police in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Okay, and what was the incident that you had with the police?
I'm a small business owner, and I had a customer who was over the phone demanding a refund. I was trying to explain to him that, because of the circumstances, that wasn't really possible. We sell goods and services, and we do custom work, and we had already purchased the goods. We wouldn't be able to give him a refund, and I told him that, basically, we would have to deduct. He had placed a deposit for $383, and that we would have to deduct the cost of the goods from his deposit. He wasn't accepting that, so we ended our phone conversation, and within about 10 minutes, a Lancaster City police detective came to my business. He introduced himself, and he asked if I knew this gentleman, which I said I did, and he then told me that he was a detective from the Bureau of Police, and that he was investigating a criminal complaint. I told him that, there's nothing criminal here. I said, this is a matter of, disagreement between myself and the customer as to, what the liabilities were, regarding this down payment and the services. And so he produced a piece of paper, which was basically a work order for my company, and he goes, "Is this your business?" And I'm like, "Correct." And he's like, "Well, this looks like a contract to me." And I'm like, well, it's not a contract, it's a work order. And he's like, I just felt like he was like, then I asked him point blank, I said, "Well, do you know this guy?" And he looked at me and he said, "Yes, I do." I said, "Is he a friend of yours?" And he said, "Yes, he is." And at that point, I told him, "Look, I don't think we should be talking here anymore. I didn't feel, So he kind of gave me the idea of like, well, you can talk to me now or talk to me later. And I'm like, well, so we sat down and tried to come to some resolution with it or whatever. And I guess he's back and forth on the phone with this person, to my understanding or whatever, and saying that the guy just wants his money back and everything like that. And I was like, well, this isn't going to happen. I said, Roger that. And he said, like, well, he'll see you in court. And it's like, I just felt for a police officer, especially a criminal detective, to come in here, so I basically called him back an hour later because, it's like, I felt pretty intimidated, and I'm like, well, I don't want to have to deal with this. So, I gave the guy the money back. So I gave the police, this detective, a check for the amount. He wouldn't, I couldn't, the guy coming to get the money and stuff like that. I just felt like he was out of his jurisdiction, and like, what was going on between me and my customer, I feel is more of a civil matter. Him as a criminal detective to come, like, I feel like he called him like, "Hey, you're my buddy. Can you go over there and take care of this for me?" type of thing.
Did the detective describe his relationship in terms of he's my friend? Did he say how long he's known this other person, or did he just say, "Yes, I do know him"?
He said that they were friends, and that he didn't give like any time or the extent of the relationship, but he did acknowledge him as a friend.
Well, I can tell you that based on what you've told me so far, this is entirely inappropriate. In most matters like this, particularly for an amount of $300 or $400, the police would never get involved. Second, even if it were to be a matter to be taken up, it's a civil matter. If you've ever, I've dealt with thousands of, family disputes, business disputes. That's pretty much a large portion of the police department's time is consumed in dealing with disputes exactly like the one you've described. And in those disputes, 9 times out of 10, if it's two parties in a business dispute, the police will tell them that it's a civil matter, we have no hand in it. They never come in the way you described, and the fact that he admitted that this person is a friend of his is very troubling. And this deserves an investigation by the police department. Now, if he was throwing his weight around and stepping over his bounds as an impartial party to make you pay money to someone you would otherwise, I think, frankly, based on what you've told me, had you gone to court, you would have prevailed.
Yeah, like I said, I just feel like his influence, he didn't physically threaten me or anything like that, but I just feel, it's like, I'm running my business, and all of a sudden, a city detective shows up, and he's kind of like laying the law down, saying, well, this is a contract and everything like that. And after I thought about it the next day, like this was 2 days ago, I'm like thinking, it's like, well, who's he to decide what's a contract and what's not? And
well,
I'm not trying.
here's the bigger question. The bigger question is, would he have done this for anybody else? And my answer to that is no.
Right, I felt like for him to show up as a detective, like why didn't just a regular, police, uniformed police officer come to the door?
Exactly. And the pressure he was putting on you was sufficient to intimidate you. And I'll just tell you, it doesn't matter how tough you are or what kind of background you have. Anybody with a police department standing in their business would be intimidated. It's just a fact of life. Now, did he punch you in the nose? Did he twist your arms? No, but it didn't take that much. I mean, he knew that when he came through the door, that if he presented certain facts to you and gave you the idea that you could have problems if you didn't do what he was directing you to do, that's, it's inappropriate. So
that's exactly how I felt, yes.
Yeah, well, I think you have a valid complaint. We will stand behind it, and we will forward a copy of your complaint back to you shortly. Let me stop the recording here.